Okay, this video is going to be about depersonalization and derealization, which I am so excited to talk about, and is not something I really talk about a lot because it's hard to write about, but now that I'm doing videos, it's I think a better topic for talking. And I don't have much time, so we'll see how long this goes. I gotta get ready and go somewhere in a little bit, but I just have been thinking about it today, so I wanted to bring it up and at least get something going, something that I could go ahead and put on the site and that y'all could start reading. And before I go any further, I want to give a disclaimer that everything in this video from here on out is my personal opinion. It is my personal opinion that I have developed and that I've kind of come to through my own worldview and my own kind of process of healing from a bad trip. It may not be relevant to your life at all. This may be totally contrary to how you view the world or how you want to view the world and how you want to make meaning of this. I talk a lot about the ways we make meaning of what the experiences we have based on our worldviews. And so the same thing can happen to 20 different people, and you're going to have 20 different explanations for it, 20 different meanings given to it, because no one views the world in exactly the same way, and no one comes to the same conclusions. So this is my conclusion. If you do not agree, that is fine. The purpose is not to agree, is to get people to agree or to get people to view things my way. It's just to give you a perspective on it from someone who's been down this road. And okay, so yeah, I'm excited about this because it's something that it's a question that I get a lot, and I don't know what kind of websites this information about derealization and depersonalization is on, because it's such a specific term, and I always hear them together, and I'm just like, but I get questions about this so much, and it actually starts to pertain to the part of bad trips that is really interesting to me, where the magic really starts to happen, where you really start to heal. A big part of it for people is getting past the anxiety, but once you learn to manage your anxiety, you can really start exploring a new perspective on life and exploring parts of yourself that you weren't connected with before. So, all right, here's my take on derealization and depersonalization. These are basically big words that explain an odd concept or sensation that you're kind of, life around you is becoming less real, and you as a person are becoming less real, or you start to notice that life is not, it's like you become aware of living and life and become aware of the person you are, and you start to pull back from that. People experience this in a lot of different ways. That's my kind of experience of it. Sorry, I'm like so hungry. I wanted to make this video before I even made dinner. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea, but here I am. So when you have a bad trip, or any trip, one of the major concepts is the concept of ego death, which is basically a fancy way of saying that the trip causes you to detach from who you are as a person in day-to-day life. You know, I'm Olivia, I have blonde hair, I live in this apartment, I go to this job every day, I have this blog. That is an identity and a kind of a life, but again, this is the personal opinion part. That is not truly who I am. I am truly a spiritual being, a being of consciousness that transcends this time, that transcends this place that I'm in, that transcends this physical appearance, and all the attributes of my personality, the sound of my voice, and it's all kind of like an outfit that is put on by myself, as my higher self, as a spiritual being, in order to go through a process of learning, expanding consciousness, helping others to progress on their journey. I don't have all the answers as to why I'm here, but this is what I believe about us as people, and I believe that we are all eternal spiritual beings. And that these lives that we are living now are, as fleeting as the day, and then it's night, and then it's day again, and there's a new life. So from my perspective, the ego death is a really helpful but can be very scary thing of showing you, pulling this little separation back to show you, hey, you're not really Olivia, you're not really whoever, you're not really this person that you see in the mirror. What you really are is a beautiful, eternal, spiritual being that transcends it all. And when you die, it's not the end. There's more to come. And I believe that this kind of realization is part of the point of psychedelics in our world, and that they try to the psychedelic experience tries to convey this idea, but we go down a bad trip route when we want to stay attached to this being that I am now, this person, this identity. We don't want to die, because a lot of times people experience the feeling of like they're going to die during a psychedelic trip. This was the foundation of what made my trip difficult, was this feeling that I was going to die, that I latched onto, and it became so terrifying because I didn't want to let go of this person that I am. I didn't want to perceive myself until the very end of my trip, which is when it stopped being bad, or difficult, scary. I didn't want to let go of this life. I became obsessed with not dying instead of accepting the realization that I'm going to die and it's okay, and that's not the end of my consciousness. That's not the end of the real me. That may be the end of Olivia, who, during the trip, I became obsessed with the idea that I wanted to say goodbye to my mom, or I wanted to be able to talk to my mom, because I didn't want to leave this world, because I knew how much I meant to her. My mom is also a spiritual being, in my perspective, who transcends this life and transcends the relationship of mother to me, and we are all infinitely special to each other, and we are all connected. And if I had not been so attached to this identity and these relationships that I have, and I had just been okay with the idea that on a higher level, this being who is my mom in this life would know that I, would have an awareness deep in her heart that that this was not the end, and that the connection that we share transcends this life. But instead I became obsessed with not dying, and the trip became so scary. And so it creates the process of fighting against the ego death. What you really should get out of it, in my opinion, is that you should be willing to let go of the personality. Be willing to let go of who you are now. And this relates to depersonalization and derealization in a big way. It's the foundation, and I'll get to that in a second. But I'll just give one more personal example. When I was first having psychedelic trips, one thing I would do to kind of check to see where I was, as like a kind of a keeping, one foot on dry land, is I would always ask myself, okay, what's my birthday? And if I could, and I wanted to see if I could remember my birthday, because that was an indication to me that I was still holding on to this life. I was still clinging. And in earlier trips that went well, I had the feeling, I would ask myself this question, and I had the feeling that I knew what my birthday was, but I just didn't care. And that's great. That's exactly what you want, because that is embodying the ego death. That is accepting it and accepting that you are more than that birthday. That birthday is just an arbitrary fact about this person. That birthday has nothing to do with my true being. And so knowing your birthday but not caring is great. But what happened in my difficult trip is I started having this experience where I could not hold on to thoughts. Sorry, there's like a hair on me. Don't you hate it when there's like a random hair on you and you can't see it? I mean, my hair's light, so I have that problem, but alright, anyway. I couldn't hold on to thoughts, and I basically just imagined it like thoughts and images and pictures were like Sorry, I got a call. Thoughts and images were like flurrying around me like they were in a blender, and this scared me because I couldn't grasp any of them. And so I tried this birthday thing, and I realized that I had no idea what my birthday was. It wasn't that comforting feeling of, I know, but like I don't care. It was literally, I didn't know what my birthday was, I didn't know what my name was, and I could hardly even hold on to the concept of wondering what my birthday was. And all the memories and images of my entire life were just flurrying past me, and I couldn't grasp them. But the amazing thing that if you read between the lines of that experience, you start to realize is that despite not being able to remember or hold on to the thoughts of this being, I still existed. My consciousness continued. And that's something that I think about a lot, and I think it's a deceptively simple concept. So I would recommend, think about that on your own a little bit. Just kind of ponder what that really means. That you can start to experience a disconnection from your identity as a person, or that whole experience of not being able to hold on to any facts or memories from this person, yet still existing. You don't need this person to exist. This person is separate from you. And that's basically where depersonalization and derealization come in, is that, to me, those experiences are part of an ongoing kind of sensation of the ego death, where you now have implanted within you this idea, sorry, this is a train wreck. You now have implanted within you this idea that there's a separation between you and this identity, whereas before you were fully embodying this identity and this life. Yet even with that separation, you and your consciousness are still in existence. You still are going on. You still can perceive and experience. And that is such an interesting thing to me, because that means that this is not mandatory for our consciousness. This body and this identity is not where it's at. It's beyond that. And to me, that's the basic thing of depersonalization and derealization, is that you're starting to become aware that this world is not the end-all be-all, that there's more to this world, and that it's not that it's not real, it's just, it's a transitory place that we are. It's not necessarily where we're native to as beings. And that's the greatest thing to me. That, kind of, as someone who used to be an atheist, coming to that realization, someone who used to be a staunch atheist, like, we are chemicals and that's it. Like, sorry, fuzz. I feel like I'm acting like a cat right now, like, noticing all these random things. I think it's just because I'm excited about talking about this, because no one wants to talk about this in daily life. But this is the really interesting part of difficult trips. And if you are someone who struggled to relinquish control during a bad trip, when you started to have like a fear of death or an ego death type experience, then it's probably likely that depersonalization and derealization, which I don't even like to use those words because I don't like to make them into such big concepts like that, but it's probably likely that those two experiences are something that you're going through and struggling with. But what I would suggest is stop being afraid of it. Embrace it as a beautiful thing. And I know it's a weird feeling, and I know it's like you don't really like it, but it's kind of like, okay, I've been opened up to this idea. Let me explore it a little bit. Let me see what it has within it. Let me see what's there, instead of closing myself down and trying to push it away. You're going to make more progress as a human being by just exploring that idea and seeing, what does the sensation really feel like, and what does it really mean? What does it really mean that I'm starting to feel like this world is less real? The best thing you can do for yourself is to stop worrying that you're going crazy, because you're not. You're not going crazy. You're waking up, which I don't want to sound like gimmicky like that, but that's really what it is that you're starting to become more aware of what this life truly is. It is a transitory place. And even if you have a purely secular worldview, this world is a transitory place. You're gonna live, and you're going to grow and mature, and then start to decay as soon as you stop growing, and then you're gonna die, and you're gonna return to the earth and become compost. I mean, it's a transitory place no matter how you look at it. And it's so interesting once you relinquish the fear and have love in your heart for yourself and the experience that you're having, and just say, it is what it is. This is something that I'm experiencing, so I'm going to explore it. And for me, it was such a beautiful thing, because it really brought to the forefront of my mind how I truly am a spiritual being. Having that experience day to day is like, wow, I get to remember every single day, all the time, that I am more than this world. I'm not just like a dumb animal. I mean, I don't think animals are dumb, but like, I'm not just like a beast of the earth and that's all there is. That's such a weird way to put it. I hope you know what I mean. So let me collect myself and see what else I have to say. Basically, in all of this bad trip stuff, fear is your enemy. And the more you're afraid of going crazy, the more you're afraid of these sensations and feelings that you have, the more you're going to close yourself down and not grow from it. But the more you can release the fear and just trust, it's okay to explore things in your mind. It's okay to have thoughts about what something could mean. You don't have to tell anybody. You can just explore concepts. The more you can become open to exploring new concepts and new ways of viewing things, new worldviews, the more dynamic and beautiful, and I don't want to say enlightened, but like the larger your world will get. The more, if you just cling to one perspective, your world becomes very small. And a lot of people take psychedelics because they want to expand their consciousness. Well, that's what this is. You gotta recognize, you gotta wake up and recognize that if you had a bad trip after asking for your consciousness to be expanded, you got exactly what you asked for, you just don't like what you got. You just thought it was gonna come in a different form. But start viewing it through the perspective that you got what you asked for. You got your consciousness expanded. Now you just have to kind of catch up. You kind of, like, your consciousness expanded, it gained new perspective, but maybe your brain is like still back there, and it needs to kind of catch up. So I hope that makes sense. And so if you're experiencing derealization and depersonalization, try to look at it differently philosophically for the first thing. The next thing, if you are looking for that feeling to go away, which I recommend exploring it, embracing it, but if you really just like want that feeling to go away, what I would recommend is work on groundedness, and I did a whole video on that. I actually did 2 videos on that, so you can look that up. But groundedness is gonna get you back in your body, back on planet Earth, and back in the physical realm, instead of kind of pulled back from it, which is what that depersonalization feeling is. So do things that get you in your body and get you in the world. Go outside. Interact with other people, dance and run and exercise. I mean, whatever you're physically capable of. Work with your hands, go out, take a walk outside. Whatever it is that's gonna get you more in your body than in your head, that's what you need to do. I really recommend exercising. It's really helpful. I know people don't like it, but once you do it for you and for emotional satisfaction rather than because you're supposed to exercise, it changes. And that's what I mean. You may notice that I just got back from running. I today felt a heightened level of adrenaline because I was happy. I am looking forward to this evening. I have some positive things going on in my life right now. I'm just generally happy and loving myself, but this feeling of like I had to burn off some steam, so I went and ran after work, and it was great. And that feeling went away, and it got me exactly what I needed because I was doing it for me, not because I'm supposed to or whatever. And then there's just one last thing I wanted to do, which is kind of a little meditation exercise thing that I think is really powerful. And it is not my technique. I got it from someone who is, I think, the one who developed it, or at least is popularized it or conveyed it to people. And so I'm going to provide his video because I definitely am not taking credit for this at all. And I don't even think I can do it as well as him, but I want to at least try to give you the feeling that his technique gives you. And it's a technique from a practice called Yoga Nidra, which is really interesting and good for this bad trip stuff. So definitely explore Yoga Nidra. It's Yoga Nidra, Nidra, and it's not like poses or anything. It's more meditation. Okay. So if you want to try this, you might close your eyes, and I'm gonna close my eyes because I don't exactly have planned out the way that I'm going to take you through this, because I know his words, but I also feel like it's sometimes hard to get exactly where you're going. So close your eyes and just take a couple breaths to get yourself in the zone. And I want you to try to make a shift from in your being, in a state of existence, to as being, as existing. Basically, what to me it feels like is taking a step back. Just pull back and see if you can it's kind of like going underwater. You're out at a pool and all this stuff is going on around you, and that's being in the world, in being, and you want to just slip underwater into a state of as being, as a being. And just see if you, it may take a second, but see if you can find that place. And at the point at which you find that place, there's a couple questions I want you to ask yourself. The first question is, where are you? And what time is it? And is there anything that you need to do to be? Is there anywhere you need to go? If you want to pause, I'm gonna give some answers that I get and that the creator of this, or the guy I heard this technique from, gave in his video, because he does it for all kinds of people of all backgrounds, not just, he even mentioned he's done it for like people in homeless shelters and things like that. So I'm gonna give some answers, and if you haven't really found this kind of state, or you're not sure what the answers to your answers are, then I would pause this and kind of wait and listen to it later. But the feeling that I get, and the feeling that he talked about in his video in response to the question, where am I, is kind of, he says, I'm everywhere and nowhere in particular, which I totally get that sense. And also it's kind of like, who cares? Like, I don't know where the hell I am, but it doesn't matter. It's like the concept of where is not relevant. And it's the same with time. He said he did this at a homeless shelter and asked a woman, what time it is, and she's like, who cares? Time is irrelevant. I get, in that state, it's like you're just there. You just exist. That's all there is. And you have been there forever and will go on forever. And is there anything you need to do? No, there's not. So that is a place that I go quite a bit. And I wrote a few things down when I was doing this technique. I want to see if I can find it. Yeah, when I did this the other day when I was thinking about what I would say in this video, and this is what I wrote down. That I feel as though I have existed forever, yet I have no age. I am everywhere, but nowhere in particular. I am entirely alone, yet inseparably a part of something vast. There is no time and nothing I must do. I simply am and forever will be. And that's really powerful to me, and everyone experiences it differently, but I would try to work on finding that state and going there quite often, because it is really a step back from your identity as a person, and it's quite lovely when you can find that place. So that's all for now. I must go. But I will be doing another video on this subject, and probably many more, because it is such a great topic and it's so interesting for me to talk about. And I know it's something that is weighing in you guys' hearts every day for those who are going through a bad trip and experiencing these feelings. So I hope you found some peace in this, and good luck.